Of course.
I missed all this.
Wanted them to see what I do every week.
You get them out of the snow.
That's the real reason. Hey, I want to start this off with a story because I think you'll enjoy the story. I got a call from a gentleman today who was complimenting what we're doing. Turns out that I've been working with his partner. Every time she comes in, I'm working with these techniques that we've been learning about the psychic methods in combination with adjusting her and helping with her health. And she's really catching on to this. So he called me yesterday with some ideas as to how he wanted to surprise his partner by changing the living conditions where they're living. And I said, it sounds like a great idea. Now, I didn't say anything to her. He didn't say anything to her prior to this. But then this afternoon they go to lunch. And out of the blue, she's saying, you know, I get the strangest feeling like things are going to be changing in the house. Like this is going to happen, that's going to happen, this is going to happen. She listed 3 items, and they were the exact 3 items that he's talked to me about the previous day. Now, he just stood there. I mean, he was just shocked. And then he started discussing it, and he called me right after that this afternoon to tell us that what we're doing works. Now think about this. The information is out there. All the information, every word we say, every thought we have is information. That information is out there, and we've been talking in this class about not looking into the past. We're looking into the future to make predictions. And we're looking into the future in terms of what? What are we using as our guide? Spirit. We're using spirit, true, but what are we using physically? What are we using as our guide? Stocks. Thank you. We're using stocks. Oh, and by the way, would you take out your money? Okay, hold your money in your hands. Okay, why are we using the money? Okay, who doesn't have their money with them? Okay, why are we using the money? Come on, you know. Please stand. Come on. Stand. Good. Thank you.
Tangible account of your progress, if you're accurate or not.
Right. Right. We can't refer to our relationships, we can't refer to our health, but we can refer to the money as a tangible way of referring to prosperity. Now remember what we said prosperity is. What have we said about prosperity? What is it? Is it just money?
No.
No. No.
Health,
relationships, wealth. That's prosperity. And at the center of the prosperity is the divine, whatever we call God. That's extremely important to remember because if we lose sight of that, everything ends. It all ends. If we focus on just one small part of prosperity, it all ends. It all ends. Okay? So, he was very complimentary, and that proves that what we're doing is working. Now, we're looking into the future to create a system that will allow us to evaluate how do the stocks move. And it's fascinating about this, and I want to talk about this today because I've been spending a lot of time on this, lots of time. And I've been using the key method. Okay, remember the keys? Remember the keys? Okay, remember what we said about the keys? I said one of these 2 keys opens a very specific door. It's the stockroom door right there. This other key opens another door in this complex. I'm always focusing on this one key for the stockroom. I'm always doing that. So every time I put these together and I start scrambling them and then I hold them like this and I start using this mechanism. Now this works for me, this mechanism. This works for me. All right? Do you remember how to use this mechanism? When we're doing this. Does anyone not know how to use this mechanism for looking at something like a pair of keys or bottle caps or whatever you want to use? Does everyone know how to use this? You want me to go over this?
Go over it.
All right, let me go over it. Okay, it's real nice. Okay, first thing we do, we have our sphere, our protective sphere in our imagination, and we extend it out several feet in all dimensions beyond us. Within that sphere, we say 3 or 4 times to command demons, dark forces, anything that's going to interfere with our knowledge to leave that sphere. Now, since then, I created a method where in my imagination I put in a large hand into that sphere, and the hand just scoops out everything that's in that sphere that will create problems, and the moment that hand moves from the sphere closes, and it's just as clean. For me, that technique seems to work better than doing it 3 or 4 times. Okay, so that's number one. Remember, we've gone through this, and we've gone through this. Okay? Now, once that area is clear, then we allow the divine, the energy of the divine to come through. And I don't care what you call the divine, but I'll use the conventional ideas of God, Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, angels. We allow that energy to come straight on through from our skull, right through our body, right through the feet, into the earth, all the way through the earth, back again, and we imagine in this sphere that we have an energetic self that represents us. Now, I don't care how your energetic self looks. I don't care how that looks. Mine looks somewhat like me, and I can detect the areas of the brain, heart, and spirit area on that version of me. So I can see brain, heart, and spirit area. I can see a general version of myself, but I can see it clearly enough so I can distinguish where those three elements are: brain, heart, and spirit. Am I clear so far? Okay? So then we allow this energy to go through, and this is the energy of the divine. We called it gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you for acceptance and forgiveness. Accepting ourselves, forgiving ourselves, and others too. Okay, so it's the energy of gratitude, acceptance, and forgiveness. It's the energy that goes on through. Okay, so we let that energy go through 10 or 15 minutes while the brain, heart, and spirit areas are getting very bright. And when that occurs, then we can bring in our statement. Our statement. Remember, everything in this universe needs a statement. Somehow we need something to guide us. Okay, so I use a simple statement. I just simply say, show me which of these two keys is the key that opens that stockroom door. It's a statement just that simple. It's just that simple. Okay? Now that energy is very direct because I know what that door looks like. I have a sense for what key then is the correct one of the pair after I've shuffled them. Okay? Now there's a nasty little thing that occurs when you start doing that. And let me take you a little further into this. As I look at myself, and I'm using my convention. You use your own convention, but this is my convention. This works for me. As I'm looking at my energetic self, I've divided myself in the long axis in half. So I look straight at myself, just like I'm looking at another person, I'm looking at myself. So I say on the right side, okay, on my right side, okay, which is that left side there. So looking at the left side of my energetic body, I call that side 1. The right side of that body is side 2. So I've divided myself in half. So this side will be side 1, this side is side 2 as I'm turning to myself, looking at myself. Okay? Okay, that's what I do for me. I don't care what side you use as side 1 or 2, whatever works for you. Okay? Now, as that energy goes through thy energetic self, as it goes through with that statement, just a simple statement that I've made, then I say, show me which of these two keys is the correct one. I have by convention, I've made that the key that's closest to my fingertips, this one, is attached to my side 1. This would be attached to my side 2. So this is side 1, side 2, just as I'm looking at myself. So side 1, side 2. Okay? As I ask, which of these two keys is the correct one, that energy automatically goes to the correct side. Automatically moves to the correct side, side 1 or side 2.
Does it give you a 1 or a 2 in the word?
I actually see it move over to either side 1 or side 2. I actually see it.
Okay.
Now, you can sense it. You can do anything you want. You may not see it, but you might sense it. Whatever works for you. You may hear it. I don't care how you do it. But you are allowed to do this in any way, any fashion, if you give yourself permission to get past the brain, heart, and work with the spirit. Okay? It's just up to you. All right, now, here's where it gets interesting. Remember I said that everyone in this room either deals with fear or they deal with anger and frustration. Remember we said that. When we were born, we were one way or the other. We're never both ways, but we're predominantly one or the other. I deal with fear. Now, fear prevents me from jumping into things. So I could let that energy go an awful long time because I'm afraid of being wrong. Okay? I could get awfully old waiting to decide which side is the correct side. Okay? I mean, that's what I have to deal with. Okay? Because that's what I deal with. Now, you people that are dealing with anger, you may just want to jump right in and go to whatever side comes up like that. But if you're dealing with anger, you need a little bit of time to sense rather than jumping in. I need to jump in because fear tries to prevent me from doing that. Now the problem is, if I just try to jump in, go against my fear, I'm going to be incapacitated. And I'm going to be very tense, and I'm not going to make the right choice. So here's the first thing I want you to remember. You may need certain words to help you make your choice. Do you know what I use? I use the word easy. But since then, also the word accurate. Maybe a better word for me also is correct. Either of those three words will work. The moment I say any one of those three words, boom, it takes me to the correct side without me thinking. Because if I'm going to think about which side is correct, I'm going to be wrong. Because if I'm thinking, I'm using either my brain or my heart. I have to sense it immediately. Again, I'm making sense with this. Okay? It works beautifully. Now here's the next part of it. We are a dynamic system. We are constantly changing. So we can't always say that side 1 is going to be the correct side when I scramble these keys, or side 2. We can't. So if we're going to honor ourselves, we must honor who and what we are. If I'm going to use the word, say, easy, there may be days, according to who and what I am, that the word easy may take me to the wrong side. And it may do it consistently. Now, Roger, you're nodding up and down because you've been there, okay? Now, if you've done this, you're going to see this. There are going to be days, I don't care how you try this, I don't care how often you've done it, I've done it more than 20 times in a row, that if I'm not working in the right direction, for whatever reason, doesn't matter why, then I'm not going to fight it. I will not fight it. If the word I select, if I select the word and it takes me to the wrong key, and it's consistently going to the wrong side, that's okay with me. That's okay. I want consistency. I need consistency. Okay? Accuracy will come later. I need consistency. So if I'm consistent 6, 7, 8 times in a row, and I may be on the wrong side, but I know it. But I know it, and I'm consistently that way, I don't care. I can still move forward. Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that that we're blocked.
Well, it can mean that you're blocked,
Okay.
but the point is, I don't care. Because if I'm blocked and I'm consistently going to the wrong side, hey, that's all right because I can compensate later, as long as I calibrate it myself. You know, being clear? Okay. Any questions about that? Okay.
Do you mean that you're just gonna go with the opposite answer when you need an answer?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, and it works beautifully. In fact, I just did that today and got the exact right answer for 2 stocks. Okay? But I calibrated myself, and did it over 10 times in a row, and I was wrong. Okay? But I was consistently wrong. I'm not going to fight it. Do not fight it. Don't fight it. Because you'll waste time if you do that. There may be days where if you use your word, whatever word works for you, you may go right to the correct side 10 times in a row, 20 times in a row, and that's great. But whether you are or not on the right side, don't fight it. Please.
If you're calibrating yourself and there's no consistency, what would you suggest?
Well, there are a number of things you can do, because that happened to me today also. Okay. One thing is you can give up. I don't like giving up. Okay. The other thing is you can get up, walk around, and maybe do something. Maybe take a quick walk, which is what I did. Play with the cats. Enjoyed myself for a little bit, and then I went back to it. And then I was consistently wrong, but I was consistently wrong the same way each time. So it worked out beautifully. Okay? Now, there may be other days where no matter what you try, you'll be inconsistent, like yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, you're just not getting any consistency. If that's the case, stop. Do something else, go back later. Don't fight it. Just don't fight it.
So you don't try to make yourself consistently right? You accept that you're consistently wrong and keep moving?
I don't know how else you can say it better than that. We're dynamic. We have good days, we have bad days. And I'm not going to wait for a perfect day. I'm losing too many other days. As long as I'm consistent, that's all I ask for. That's all I want. Okay? Yeah.
Do you record all of this so you can see the pattern? Do you write it down?
Oh, I remember, but if you want to record it, I did that in the early stages. I did a lot of recording on this. Now, I just remember. I do it at least 10 times, and I'm curious to see of 10 times how often am I one way or the other. But if I'm going back and forth, like Kim, you were asking about that, then I stop immediately. I stop, and then I try some other things. I'm not going to fight it. No matter what I'm doing, I'm not fighting it. I'm working with it. Making sense? Yeah,
Refresh me about calibration.
okay, calibration, okay. Take a pair of keys or cards, but remember we said we like keys simply because they're not going to have folds on them or something so we can cheat, okay? Make them as similar as you can, okay? And then what I do is I just scramble them. I mean, I just close my eyes, I scramble them so I have no idea which one is which, okay? Then I put them in one hand. And again, I'm doing what I do right now. I always have a convention that the one closest to my fingertips is number 1. The next one is number 2, always. I don't care which hand you use, I don't care if there's one in each hand. Again, it's up to you. Then I start this system, I start this going, and I imagine at some point, when I'm ready to do this work, as I'm looking at my energetic self, I see side 1, side 2, as I'm looking at the energetic self. And then I introduce my statement, like show me which of these 2 sides is the appropriate key to open that door. Okay? Then I use my word. Easy, full. It takes me to that side. It takes me to one side or the other. Okay? And then I look to see which one is it. Is it the correct one or not? Then I would do it again, and do it again, do it again, looking for consistency.
Okay, and the test is if it opens the door. Basically, I'm working with something that's absolute truth.
Absolute truth. Because only one of these 2 keys opens that door. And that one key is marked as a numerical mark that they both do, but it's a very small mark, so I can't feel it or cheat as I'm doing this. Okay? Am I making sense of it? Okay, you need something that you can calibrate. You must calibrate this. You don't want to jump off and do any of this work unless you understand how you're functioning at that time. That's disaster. Absolute disaster.
So the keys are as close to alike as you can get them.
Right.
But one is always I'll call it default or the standard you're going towards.
Right. Right.
It won't open the door.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, I'm not trying to open the door. I just want to know, is one the answer I'm looking for my statement or 2?
Right.
Yeah, door.
Well, for me, this works well because that door, I imagine that door is surrounded by a lot of lights. It's like in Las Vegas, a lot of sounds around it, and everything just, it's wolves and everything else that opens that when I get that door open. So I've got to get energy into this. So you want to think about it any way you can. Okay? And it works well. Okay? So you can do that. Here's the next thing you want to be careful about. Remember, we also said that the right side of our body deals with physical things. Clothes, cars, money, businesses, homes, this type of thing. Right side of our bodies. Left side of our body deals with the philosophy and the ideas about those concepts. Okay, so this is the philosophy and concepts. This is the actual physical construct. Now, what I'm also finding with this is that I'm looking at 2 sides, sides 1 and side 2. Well, I realize that for me, as I'm expanding this, as I'm looking at myself, I'm seeing that my right side is restricted. In other words, I have the philosophy about what I believe God wants me to have. I'm in agreement with that philosophy. But in terms of actually physically having that, in terms of using my brain and heart about having those things, I'm not okay with that. So my energy doesn't go out evenly in all directions evenly. It's restricted on this side. What I found was that if I realize I'm restricted on this side, or even if it's restricted on that side, that if I'm doing the sides 1 and 2 like I'm doing, I might be skewed to one side or the other without even realizing it. Because one side is open and the other side is partially closed, and that could represent itself as I'm looking at myself, so I may go to one side more than the other without even realizing it. So, what I did was imagine, because it's amazing what we can do in our imagination. Our energy is fantastic, what we can do here. So, in our energetic form, I imagined that with that wall that I had on this side of me, that I could actually, like a wall, physical wall was standing right next to me, trying to push against me, trying to prevent me from having these things that I believe God wants me to have. I just imagine in my mind, I pushed that wall away, literally physically moved it away, started my energy through this mechanism, looked at sides 1 and 2, made my choice, and then it's amazing how more accurate you can be.
Explain this wall idea one more time.
Okay. We're, all of us are working uphill in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Okay, all of us. Otherwise, we would all have the prosperity that we want, every one of us. So I imagine that I have a story. Okay, I have a story, you have a story, we all have a story. That story, whether it's trying to physically prevent us from having what God wants us to have, or energetically preventing us from what God wants us to have, we have a story. So, and for me, I know my story is mostly on this side. It's mostly on this side. So I imagine that that's a resistance that's trying to push against, or if I want these things, I have to push against it. Okay? And have you ever had someone say to you, it's kind of like my life is like pushing things up a hill all the time? You ever hear that? Well, believe me, I understand that. And I know where it comes from. Our stories create that. The stories that came from when we were born, the stories that we have at this time in our life, the stories that came from past lives. So, in one way or another, it's going to either affect the stuff that we have physically, or the stuff that we would like to have in terms of our belief systems. But in one way or another, it's going to be affecting this side or this side. Now, an easy way of finding out which side it is, what I did was this. I just thought of, remember that prosperity circle that we spoke of? Remember? It showed us relationships, right? Wealth, right? Okay? So, we had that circle, and I imagined that that circle is just expanding out. I'm just allowing it to expand out. And I just allowed it to go out as far as I wanted to, in my imagination. What I did was I realized that when I tried to do that, it expanded very nicely on this side. Nicely on this side. But when it started going out about that much, about that far, it was resistant. On this side, it could go out forever. On this side, it was resisted right about here. You might try that. In fact, a week and a half ago, when I did this, it was actually resisting me right here, right in this area. But now, since I've been practicing with the key so much more, and doing much more for meditation, now it's all the way out to here in about a week and a half. Yeah. It's important that you begin to understand this simply as you're looking at this, at your energetic self, and you're using your keys, it will help you make better choices. Am I being clear about this? Yeah.
Could that be connected to your right side, which deals with physical, and the left side that deals with the philosophy and concept?
That's exactly what that deals with. Yeah. That's exactly what that deals with. Philosophically, I'm okay. But in terms of actually having things in terms of my brain and heart, because the philosophical part comes from our spirit, okay, on our left side. On our right side, it comes from the brain and heart areas, what we believe we deserve. I have trouble with that. Okay? So, just something to realize. This could happen. Yes?
Yeah, it reminds me of a trekker. Someone who's trekking long distance.
Would you mind standing so
Yeah, the situation you're describing, the conceptualizations that you're describing remind me of a trekker, someone who's walking long distances. And if they aren't really paying attention, they can wind up walking in circles, particularly if they're walking at night. Because we have one side that's dominant, or we may have one side that has a longer stride. And so you're saying, you know, you trek really good with your left side, and you're using your left side to actually help you on your right side. So it's like knowing that you have a longer stride on one side, and you're intentionally, occasionally, striding intentionally harder on the other side to make it equal.
That's right. That's exactly right. Very well phrased. So we would like to have a balance. We would like to be balanced on both sides as well as we possibly can, so that when we do manifest, we're manifesting both the physical and the energetic part equally easily. And if we're having trouble manifesting things, you might want to look at this carefully as to which side is being blocked, because I guarantee you one side or the other is being blocked. At least one. Okay? Please.
So if you're a fear-based person, is it typically always all fear-based people tend to have the restriction on that same side? And
Well, it's a good question. I'm only
you're only one.
I'm a
but
subset of one, so the uncertainty is one. So I can't say that. But I do know that. I mean, it doesn't matter which side we're blocked on. I don't care what side it is. Most likely, the side is more related to the person versus fear or anger, what they've come through. Okay?
I can answer the question from yesterday because I'm fear-based and my block side's my left.
Oh, okay,
So
that's
you
what I
were
was
telling me
wondering.
left was mine yesterday and I'm
Okay.
fear-based.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so we just have to keep an open mind, and whatever I tell you works for me. You just need to take it, try it yourself, make it yourself, and then do it your own way. I can't emphasize that enough. All right.
Can I ask you to give us an example of how you use this for picking a stock or with the stock market?
Okay. All right. Let me go to what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I have two stocks, and a gentleman gives me the information. He doesn't let me know what two stocks they are. I have no idea what two stocks they are. So the two stocks can either be, and he picks out and looks at a certain time during the day. So he gets two values for the stocks, two numerical values, two prices for the stocks. So I'm looking now ahead at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time to determine what will those two stocks do. Will they be higher or lower than the prices he gives me? So I have a matrix of 4 items. Low, low, high, high, low, high, okay, high, low. Okay, that's all I know. I don't know anything about stocks. I don't want to know anything about stocks. So I have a larger matrix other than true, false, of course. So what I do is I've divided that so that as I look at myself, my energetic self, I've numbered, in fact he goes a step further, I don't even know which one is high, high, low, low, or any, he just puts numbers next to them, 1, 3, or 4, so he scrambles them even more. I don't want to know anything. The less I know, the better. And this is for all of you, the less you know, the better. So all I have are 4 numbers. I have no idea what those numbers correspond to, okay? Am I being clear so far with everyone? Mm-hmm. Okay. So all I have now, as I'm looking at my energetic self, I have on one side of me, I have the numbers 1 and 2, and on the other side of me, I have the numbers 3 and 4. Okay? All right? So what I've done is I calibrated myself before I go to that system with the keys. So I know that if I use a specific word, say I'm using the word correct, okay? And let's say I know the word correct gives me the correct answer using the keys. Okay, let's say it does. Okay? So let the energy go, and I have a very specific statement because I'm looking at the direction of those two stocks at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right? I use the word correct as the energy is moving through. The center of my body, the energy is moving through. I use the word correct, and boom. Immediately the energy stops, and it moves to one side or the other side. Okay? Let's say it moves right over to the sides of 1 and 2. Okay? So now I've got numbers 1 and 2. So now what I do with them is, now I take the numbers 1 and 2, and I scramble up those numbers. I don't want to know which one's 1 or 2. I scramble them up, and I put those in my hand, just like I do the keys. Just like I do the keys.
Okay.
Okay? All right? So think of these keys as a card with the number 1 and another card with the number 2 on it. Okay? Now I've already conferred the direction on my energetic self. I've already maintained that this side of me is number 1 and this side of me is number 2. That's all I want to know. So then I let the system go again, like which stock is it? I use the word accurate again, and boom, it may go to side 2. Okay? That would be the card. This would be the card on this point, because this is number 2 point. Okay? I give him that number, which is a pair, like high, high, low, low, high, low, low, high. Okay? And then he tells me at 5 o'clock if I was right or not.
Okay, so the keys then are to help you calibrate. Once you're calibrated, you use similar statements like we have been in the past.
Oh, everything I've been teaching you.
Okay.
Everything I've been teaching you. Everything is what I'm using right now. Everything. I haven't taught you anything that I'm not using. Okay? That's where we're going, step by step.
Where my confusion was is how the keys came into play with you doing with the stock.
Okay?
And they really don't, once you've calibrated yourself, the keys are put on the,
To the side.
to the side.
until I'm done and I make my choice as to what number corresponds to that stock situation, the pair of stocks, and then I redo my keys again. I want to make sure that I haven't changed my calibration. And let me give you an example. Okay, did the test yesterday. Okay, I'm calibrating myself, and I made the prediction, and just then there was an interruption in the office. Okay, so I had to take care of a couple of things, and I got back into testing the keys after I made the prediction. Okay, so I made a prediction, and something happened in the office. I had to take care of that. Came back, and now I'm retesting just to make sure the keys are correct. Well, suddenly now, in just a 5-minute change from what I was doing, I'm reversed. I'm reversed. So what do? Start again. Start again. That's right. Very good. Start again. Hey, these are beautiful. I don't care. Doesn't matter how many times I start with these. It's always going to tell me the truth. I don't care what I do. This will always tell me the truth, at least at this moment. So I went back again. I went back, did the test all over again. Now my answers now, instead of giving me the correct answer, the word correct giving me the correct answer, now it's giving me the wrong answer. Okay? I don't care, as long as I'm consistent. So I redid it the other way. And again, I'm not looking at the cards, the numbers, or anything like that, but regardless of what technique I used, I got the exact answer in both cases, regardless of the direction that I was in, as long as I calibrated myself. Now, that was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. I mean, can you imagine? You're taking 2 to 4 cards, scrambling them up, and you're calculating yourself, and you don't know what's what, and you're scrambling those, and you do it 4 or 5 times in a row, and you get the right answer, and then you change everything, do it according to that method, do it again, get the exact same answer.
Do you attribute this to your own taking in energy in any way?
Well, yes, because we are sensing this. Yes, we are sensing what the correct answer is. Okay, but I have to stay neutral. I have to stay neutral with this. It's only when I say the magic word for me will I release my energy. Up to that point, I have to stay neutral. Because if I'm going into this thinking that it's going to be side one before I do anything, I got a problem. All right?
No, I guess I'm saying, do you think you were sensing the interruption that made you change? Yes, I did. But I've done this also. I've done a similar thing while I'm sitting in my chair. I do this, and then I did a test. I turned on the TV because I had myself calibrated. Turned on the TV, redid it again, and I'm completely to the opposite side when I turned on the TV, because I'm picking up the energy of the people on the TV. When you do see, here's the hard part. The hard part is, this is not science at this point, but it is art. At this point right now, we're artists. But we need to practice so we get it down so it becomes a science. Well, it's getting to 0, basically.
Neutral, yes. Yes, be neutral. And just let your own energy tell you what the answers are.
Well, that's your
The spirit.
connection.
Right, that's the connection. And it's the connection between all 3 of these working together. All 3 of these working together.
At your core.
Got it.
So, you know what, we talked about doing calls and puts, and what was the phrase for the strategy?
Delta neutral.
No, not delta neutral, it was something else.
Straddle.
Straddling, yeah. The way you're talking about, you can switch either way. That's like straddling, but you're figuring out where are you standing in the moment.
Right. And we have to know that, like I said, we're dynamic systems. And we're going to change, and we have to honor that. So if you do this work, you want to be in a quiet place, you don't want to be disturbed, and you want to take the time to do this correctly. Because anything can disturb you and change. And if something does come in to change, please retest. Please retest. Okay? If you get the same answer again 2 or 3 times, you're probably okay.
But if it reverses, you want to catch it quickly.
In regards to either the fear or the anger, is there any connection here that the ultimate goal is to overcome fear and overcome anger?
Bingo. Bingo. That's the hard part. That's the hard part. Yeah, I mean, there are days, because of the fear, that I may be at this 2 or 3 hours. I mean, shuffling these keys, till I get the consistency. Okay? Yes, there are strong programs, and the closer we get to perfection, the more resistance I'm seeing. Okay? However, you can also get through it. Okay? Practice. Practice the techniques we've been talking about. To change and achieve what we've been talking about using your God-given abilities to achieve your prosperity by simply knowing the answers, goes against everything that I've learned as a scientist, okay, as a human being, because of the way we've been taught. Medical institutions, religious institutions, educational institutions, we rely upon the brain. Okay? That's not going to help us. Okay? A lot of us rely upon our heart. That isn't going to help us either. The only thing that's going to give us our answers is our connection to the divine. But then we have to bring that brain and heart into focus with it. If we do that, we have a chance. It'll work. It does work. But it just depends on how desperately do you want this. It will take practice. Now maybe there are some of you that are far better than me in this room. You won't need as much practice. I need a lot of practice with this. I'm practicing all the time.
I think what sometimes keeps us from, getting maybe the answers that we want is that we, in order to stay connected, that's the ultimate thing, you have to stay connected.
Right.
The minute that you are in any kind of judgment, if you're feeling any kind of stress or anxiety or judgment or anything,
or people around you, or situations around you,
it'll stop right there and then. You have to be free of all that, and that's where we have to discipline ourselves to try to do that. Because the minute that you start being critical, even of yourself, or judging yourself, and say, "Oh, I wish you've lost it."
Right.
And that's where the practice needs to come in to stay connected.
And that's definitely true. Thank you. I want to get to the questions that I sent out yesterday, okay? There are only 4, and we have the 4 envelopes. So, how about, Jack, could I give you number 1? Sure, I'll give you number 4. Okay. 2. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at those questions. Okay. Jack, I believe you have number 1. Okay, would you mind standing, please, and let them know what the answer is on this?
Envelope number 1 is 1006. 1006.
Okay. So that was a false. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Sure, you got number 2?
I have 4.
Oh, 4. Okay.
No.
Okay. Very good. So it'd be false then. Okay. Here's number 3.
False.
Okay.
Okay, the number written on the card in the envelope 3 is the number 25.
Yay.
25.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And the mystery answer to the mystery question number 4
Drum roll,
is
please.
yes. Should I read the rest of it?
Please.
As I prepare envelope 4, I'm looking at the number 5. What does that mean?
Okay. That was a yes that I did.
Oh,
I
okay.
did look at the number 5.
Oh, okay, very good.
All right. So, how many got 4 out of 4? Very good. 4.
Yay.
Correct. Correct. 4 and 4. Very good. Very good. How did you do it? Very good. How did you do it? Let's give her a hand. How did you do it?
I used all the methods that we used.
Specifically, how did you do it? Give me an example, please. Please. Give me one example.
I got quiet,
Okay?
She held the number up to her head.
and I held the number up to my head. No, and I asked, I went into my bubble, and just the exact same method that we have, and I asked, took each question one at a time,
Okay.
and asked the question and then visualized it,
Okay.
and then waited till I got the answer in my spirit.
Very good. Very good. Very good. How many got 3 out of 4? Very good. Would you mind standing, please? Those of you who got 3 out of 4, would you mind standing? Danny, how'd you do it?
I did it right the second as you were passing the door to Jack. And I just do what I always do. I ask a question and I get yes or no.
You better be teaching this class. That's good. That's very good. So,
I did
how did
my
you do
homework,
it?
I just did it right.
Well, what did you sense? What did you sense?
I just quickly asked, I just asked the question yes or no, and I get a quick yes or no, and I ask if it's a true statement. But before I do that, I was clearing, and I always give my spirit permission to override my heart and brain as far as answers in connection with the divine. And so I did all the clearing. I always do that ahead of time.
Very good.
That was certainly a lot less than 10 or 15 minutes of clearing.
Well, that had just going on. I just keep it
How'd you
going
do
on.
it?
But as far as these, I just the
I
movie.
actually, I went through the questions during the break, so.
You mean like the break we had just
during,
now?
yeah, during the break, and all kinds of activity going on, I just sort of didn't connect to any of it. I was just sort of sitting there focusing on this process here, and asked myself to show me where my yes is, or I asked him a question that I knew the answer is yes, and then one that I knew the answer was no, and I got a sense for where I felt the difference.
Okay.
And it's not a big difference from where I felt it, so it was a sort of subtle thing.
And when you say you sense that...
Well, I was sensing it in here, so when
Like
I
the
asked you
spirits
yes,
of it.
I was feeling it here,
Yeah.
and it's a softer feel than a no. A no feels a little more, not quite anxious, but something like that.
Okay.
And I just went through the process of asking the questions, and
Okay.
is it yes or no? And, or like I said, it's $1,000. That's, I missed the $1,000 one.
Oh, it was the number 1,000.
Yeah,
Number 1,000.
1,000. Yeah,
Yeah, that's probably why you missed it.
Correct.
It wasn't $1,000. Okay, how did you do it?
I kind of had the Danny method, but I also knew that there would be this, and so I did take the time to say, it's clear, show me the correct answer, and then I did what you suggested tonight about wherever your eye or your mind goes first, because my issue is fear, and then so you double check and doubt.